Hey guys, welcome back to the Greenback Voyage podcast. I'm your host, Shravan.
And I'm your co-host, Joel.
And I'm your other co-host, Krishna.
Alright, we have all the boys back here. And this week we are focusing on finance, the recent finance stories that have been, I guess, ongoing for the past month. I know we've been off air for a while. I think we can start off with, let's start off with the stock market. I think that's the main thing everyone's been focusing on, with earnings especially. I know some of you have done well on it.
I've not been blessed by the market. You know, blue chip investments have been dying, growth stocks have been plateauing, and the only good one in my portfolio right now is Palantir. I guess the Wall Street bull really helped us.
I know you have holdings in like Facebook and all that. They haven't done well at all. I know they.
I bought in too. I bought in high, so let's wait 5 years for that.
Yeah, dollar cost average. That's the way it goes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But yeah, earnings. I think 87% of the S&P 500 companies topped earnings, which is the highest since early 2000s.
Isn't the S&P 500 testing 5,000?
No. It's around 4,000 right now.
No.
It just broke
All right.
4,000.
Yeah.
All right.
We still got some time before it does. I think we're gonna have multiple corrections before we get there.
Most of the internet services stocks had pretty good earnings, like Facebook and Google, but overall broad sector sell-offs dragged it down. I think they're up like 7-8% on earnings day, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are some surprises. I know Disney popped off really well with their EPS. Shame that their subscriber count couldn't reach upon it, but it was only like 7 million short. Is that really that much in the
On what?
long-term game?
That's like what I mean.
I think
you have to beat those subscriber growth metrics. That's what investors really care about.
that is true.
You know, that's.
But if everyone's so focused on parks and how they're going to go, does it really matter if they're 7 million subscribers short of where analysts predict they are going to be?
Yes, because think about it, right? Disney has a lineup now where there's going to be a lot of shows that increase people getting Disney Plus. For example, when you talk to other people about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're going to be inclined to watch shows on their service as well, to be connected to the overarching universe, right? Because otherwise, they don't want to show up in a movie theater watching Captain Marvel 2, and all of a sudden there's like a reference from the Falcon, and you're like, oh shit, what do I do now? I don't know what's happening in the movie. Just because of the ecosystem that Disney has created with their cinematic universe, people are going to be pouring money into the streaming service just to catch up.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that does make sort of sense.
And
but
because everything's been announced, like Phase 4 is a very, very recent thing, right? We've only gotten wind of it, so a lot more is going to go in, and quarter 3 is when I believe we're going to see true results for Disney this year.
Yeah, they've done pretty well with their shows. I think if you watch the MTV Awards, I think WandaVision got like 4 awards. The Falcon and Winter Soldier got 2 awards. So I think, and there's also hype for the new Loki show, right? So
yeah,
they're definitely mastering that formula for shows and getting the hype. But yeah, I mean, they have, what is it, like 11-12 years of this universe that they built and billions of dollars made and so many fans. And if you look at what they've planned for Phase 4, just so many movies, I think there's also new characters, right? There's like the complete Asian cast movie that's coming out. It's
Shang-Chi.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that's also Black Panther was all black cast, and that did incredibly well.
I think there's going to be eight movies between now and 2023, if I recall.
Yeah, and it's not like
they send out like a trailer, right?
Yeah.
So, something like that.
And it's also like high name movies, right? So they definitely are in a good spot to get a lot of revenue from those movies.
That's the highest valued movie universe, so there's a lot of growth potential in there just because of the amount of clout they have.
Yeah, it's not just like Marvel. I mean, Star Wars is there. They have so many other
Star
universe.
Wars is kind of dead. They haven't really capitalized much on the Star
Oh, no,
Wars
no,
market,
no.
so I
The
think
Mandalorian show was, I mean, it was very popular.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's top 5
that is,
within the
but
US.
that's just one show. I don't think they're going to connect it to the cinematic universe of Star Wars. Because if you think about it, all the new generation of Star Wars movies failed. Not a single one turned out like mind-boggling. Like the initial 3, like episode 6, 7, 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not
The
6,
sequel
7, 8, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, yeah.
The sequels weren't well received by the fans, but they did really do very well in the box office. And I think they also have another like more shows planned up, like Obi-Wan Kenobi shows coming up, and that's gonna garner a lot of fans. So they have so much material to capitalize on. It's just gonna be upward from here, I believe so.
All right.
All right. I mean, I still think it's way too early to know where Disney's going to be at. I right now think they're overvalued. I know you guys disagree with me on that. But yeah, I think we can move on from there. Something else that we've been noticing, I guess, is inflation.
Oh no.
Wow, that really it was way worse than anyone expected, even though we were all expecting bad results. I think first quarter CPI increased by, what was it, 4.8%?
Yeah, around that.
And whenever there's
yeah.
a CPI increase, there's always a trigger in the stock market where people just sell out. And because of that,
everything except for energy, I think.
Energy is kind of like the new meta of the stock
poorly.
market. So everyone's funneling funds into the energy sector, like solar energy, clean energy. That's kind of an electric vehicle.
Oh no, I'm talking about like oil.
Yeah,
now,
because
like
people
basic
underestimated
energy.
the oil sector. I mean, they were all into like the EV hype, but taking down guys like Exxon and like Shell, it's not something easy. They have strong balance sheets. They're cash heavy. They can easily transition to clean energy, and that's what you're seeing.
Exactly.
With so many other coal companies out there. So
Same thing with BP as well. BP has been funneling a lot of funds into clean energy development.
Right. So that's why you kind of see this inverse situation happening where EV stocks are tumbling. I mean, NIO's down 50% from its high. Tesla's also tumbling. I think Blur is trying to capitalize on that, and oil stocks are continuing to skyrocket. So it's really interesting to see how within 6 months everything just switched in the market.
Yeah, I mean, at least I don't know if you remember, Joel, but we were talking about this back in December or January early on when you were discussing what we're going to invest in, and I said XLE would be great. And yeah, while everyone else was focused on growth, XLE just slowly popped off. But speaking of oil, I think we definitely have to mention this, especially since we're on the East Coast.
The cyber attacks.
Oh yeah, Coastal Pipeline.
Yeah,
man, I've never heard of it.
Colonial Pipeline.
A week and a half ago.
Colonial Pipeline.
Sorry, Colonial. See, still don't even know their name. But they got hacked a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
Said their operations were back last week. And we're still seeing huge outages here in our home state of Virginia.
Yeah, I mean it's
And gas
it's
prices.
it's not too severe. It's not like it's it's gonna disrupt everything. It's not that. I mean, I think Virginia, our state, had like 8% of gas stations closed.
And have you seen
yeah,
gas
but
prices?
It was
gas
getting
prices
worse
were crazy.
over the weekend.
Yeah.
Gas prices are $3 and above.
I think within
my
like
God.
2 or 3 days, it popped like 20 cents above. I think it was,
Yep.
Yeah, it was around that. But yeah.
And the thing with gas is it's an inelastic demand product. So no matter how it goes, like even if gas prices hit like $5 a gallon, people are still gonna buy it. So if you really think about it that way, Exxon is covered.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't 8% though. I'm pretty sure when I read it last, it was around 20 to 25% of Virginia gas stations are without fuel.
Probably fell off when I read it, but yeah, it seems about that range.
Yeah,
I don't think
so
the
it's
statistics are
gotten-
very relevant in this situation. I think it's more just the fact that the outages caused so much inconvenience and such a significant increase in price that and when you think about the ransom that was paid, it's not proportional to the damage that was done, you know?
Mm-hmm. And the cyber group itself is disbanded now just because of that.
Yeah, and how much did they ask for?
Which-
Like $5 million?
Yeah,
That's it.
it was somewhere around a few $1 million, but
Yeah, that's like
there's
they could have asked for a lot more.
there's a lot of analysts out there that were saying that paying the ransom was actually a mistake, because in these situations, when you do that, it kind of creates this precedent where another cyber attack could happen to you, and you've already paid the ransom, so you'll be more likely to pay the ransom again.
I mean,
Yeah, and that's why the U.S. doesn't negotiate with terrorists in the first place.
Yeah, like
Or
what
at least
happened
they
to
say
that?
They don't.
Yeah.
They clearly do.
I think it took like 5 or 6 days convincing the CEO or something. After he paid the ransom, like he was in a very bad state. That experience for him, which it was crazy to read about. But yeah, I mean now they're coming back to operation. So yeah, it should be over pretty soon.
Honestly, it couldn't be at a worse time as well, especially on the East Coast, because you got, at least within our demographics, we have college students coming back home.
Not just that, you have COVID
packing
regulations.
everything.
You have COVID
Yeah.
regulations loosening up. So now you don't have to wear masks in certain localities. And for example, in Florida, you don't even need masks anymore, which I don't get, because that's how the Indian.
I think Virginia is also, they were thinking of taking it away. I don't know if they fully acted.
It was
on
it was
that
a
yet.
No, it's only
widespread
for public
nation.
spaces.
It was the CDC, right? They came out and said that in certain spaces that you don't need to wear a mask if you're fully vaccinated. When people read the headline, they thought it was like you don't have to wear the mask, but if you read it, there's specific places where you don't have to wear the mask. It's
No,
yeah.
but Virginia and Maryland are lifted their mask mandates on Saturday.
They probably lifted on federal areas. That's what initially that did it. So if you go to like a government office or like
No, it's universal, fam.
oh, okay, I think that's too
yeah,
early.
It's universal.
I think that's really early.
It's definitely too early, because that's what happened in India, and then the entire crisis started.
I mean, if you
All
want to talk
social
about India, I don't
distancing
think
and
anyone wore
capacity.
masks there when they first had the mask
Oh
mandate.
gosh. I think we can talk about that another week. Focus more on and just rant about Modi.
I mean,
But
just
in
I just want to
Virginia-
point one thing about India, like the variant that was identified in India, which caused like the second huge wave, that was actually it was actually identified in Maine, like recently, one case.
Oh,
Oh God, they better quarantine
How
that.
did that
'cause I
even
don't want
get
to deal
here?
with that.
Honestly, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
Indian travel is not banned. You can still travel to India and come back. So
oh man. Yeah, I mean those COVID vaccine shots are.
very
There's
ineffective.
a lot of international tensions as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, inefficiency. I think the thing is, U.S. wants isolation in this area right
Mhm.
now.
I support
And-
that. I think
I
it
mean,
needs to be
I
isolated.
totally support it as well. It's just, it's not really good for the rest of the world.
I get it, but like
to what?
internet. I feel like international travel from India should be banned for a certain amount of time till vaccinations.
Oh no,
Or
it is
perfect.
You can't travel from India to here. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
you
sure.
can.
No, you can.
No, you can if you have certain, I don't know, like you need something in order to travel, like negative COVID
It's
tests.
probably
along
like
with
if you have a
the green
citizenship,
card and all that.
I think you could travel back. But I think for the most part, it's restricted completely.
I don't know. There's always ways you can travel. I don't think they'll ever fully ban it.
Because you never know
Yeah,
when the next emergency will come, like if you have family there and things like that.
hmm I guess speaking of COVID, one thing that was mentioned in the news a while back is whether the U.S. will waive the intellectual property rights for mRNA.
They haven't.
I think they should.
They haven't waived the patent rights yet.
Yeah, they haven't, but do you think they should?
I think they should, because if you think about it, the mRNA is a very unique vaccine formula that has shown the highest efficacy rates, right? Most people with Pfizer and Moderna vaccines have been the most resistant to COVID as a whole. So you've had Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca shit the bed. You've had Covaxin and Covishield in India that are not working at all against the new variations, right? So you have two strong vaccine candidates that are working for everyone with strong efficacy rates, 0% hospitalization rates, and it's reducing the amount of transmission of the virus, right? So I really think the world can benefit off of it, and America as the superpower, or America tends to play God in the ways of the world. So if they're already used to playing God, might as well just share the vaccine like intellectual property. I feel like they owe it to the world for the amount of damage they did.
Well, look,
But what I'm hearing from Pfizer and Moderna is that, or actually I don't know about Pfizer. I know from Moderna's CEO, he was talking about even if they waive it, it's hard for any other company to replicate what they've done.
I do think certain
Um,
countries, for example, India actually does have the infrastructure to replicate it. Same thing with most of Eurasia, right? Maybe
mhm.
East Asia might struggle a little bit, but I really think, and Latin America might struggle, but I really think that a couple of countries do have the infrastructure to replicate it. Like Germany, for example, definitely has the infrastructure. Like Bayer Pharmaceuticals, they could definitely replicate that.
Yeah, but Germany's chancellor is one of the votes that's disagreeing with this notion.
I think that
Really?
you should find a way to
Yeah.
minimize sharing intellectual property and maybe go to a path where you donate vaccines, because if you waive this to international level, you got guys like Russia who've already developed the Sputnik V. You got guys like China who already have their own vaccine, right? The Sinopharm vaccine. So why unnecessarily give our intellectual property that took billions of dollars from our funding, right, the Operation Warp Speed, and just hand it over to them? The best way to approach this is to protect our IP, protect our companies' rights, and just to do a donation of vaccines. And that's probably the best way to handle it. I mean, it's going to cost you a couple more $1 billion. I mean, uh, that's
So you think this is setting a bad precedent
yeah, definitely.
for not only COVID, like I know we have problems with insulin right now and other medication that
I mean,
has
this is a virus that's not going to go away. So if you're going to hand out your IP for free that took you more than $10 billion to develop, why do that? Just donate the vaccines.
Mhm.
I really disagree in this case because I feel like the vaccines donations, right, is not very viable because if you really think about it, right, it's already difficult enough to manufacture it for our own country. Now, if you want to manufacture it for the rest of the world and donate it,
Uh,
that's extra work, more money, right?
It's
If you
not.
waive the rights,
Look,
the
even
entire world has
the
access
Pfizer
to a superior
vaccine, Johnson and Johnson, AstraZeneca. Guess where these vaccines are made? They're made in India. India is the world's largest vaccine exporter. You just give them production rights and they do it, right? Why do you want to give out rights to the entire world? That just doesn't.
I kind of agree with that because yeah, IP itself, it's a very tough topic to go on, especially with other medicine. I mean, it does set a bad precedent for future
Yeah, look,
medication,
this is look.
which could be both. It could be both a good thing and a bad thing in a way. One, it could increase more competition, but at the same time, the U.S. kind of loses out in the future.
It's not like Russia openly is saying, okay, we're gonna waive our Sputnik rights. It's not like China is saying they want to waive their Sinopharm rights. Why are they pressuring us to do it? Right? If everyone, if the top 10 countries to develop vaccines want to waive their entire rights, then go for it. But why do you want to isolate the U.S. to do it? Just the U.S. to do it? It doesn't make any sense, right?
hmm
So that's my point of view. I mean, I'm not saying like we shouldn't help, third world countries. I'm saying we should spend billions of dollars helping them, but to give out our IP, give out our research just like that without anything in return is not really a good move. And I personally think they won't do it. I don't think Biden's going to do it. He's starting to backpedal on it as well. So I've seen his speeches, and it doesn't look like the Biden administration is going to move on it. So, and I think that's
And
I mean, he's backpedaling on a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Did you hear his recent statement? He is reluctant now to, or sorry, he is more than welcome to decrease the corporate taxes from 20 to 25%.
yeah. Look,
he said that
I mean, what?
as a
Yeah,
as a
he's open
Democratic
to it.
president. What?
As a Democratic president, he is willing to come down from 28% to 25%.
I
in this
knew he was
new-
pro-establishment. God damn.
Look, I mean, Biden's not your liberal president, right? I mean, if you look at what he's doing now at the border, he's continuing Trump's wall. He's still funding that. So he's not, he's not like a liberal guy, okay? He's just Obama 2.0, and he's going to do exactly what the establishment wants. So it's not really surprising to me. I think a lot of liberals are kind of upset if you go watch like YouTube channels, independent liberal guys, but it's not really surprising to see what Biden's kind of doing right now.
But that's just the most retarded. Why would you, instead of figuring out ways to decrease the amount of spending you're doing within your bills, why would you decrease corporate tax?
I
'Cause it's
think
just
he's
playing
trying
to the games.
I think it's a recovery play. He's a justification for it would be recovery, right? Because small
Yeah, that's a
businesses.
justification for the past year, though.
I know,
Like, you
but
can't spend $5 trillion and more in the coming years
Yeah,
and not expect some consequences if you don't raise
I agree,
taxes.
and going on off that, right? If you take a look at what Janet Yellen has said, she's saying that she isn't predicting higher interest rates because with the new near-term inflation, and I completely disagree with that because if you take a look at it, 22% of the total dollar reserves have been printed in the past year. So now and you
that
have
doesn't matter,
Biden
Krishna.
spending.
We our currency is globally dependent. What we do with our currency.
No. I get that, right? But we're also spending internally a lot. Government expenditure is going up like crazy with Biden's new plans for infrastructure and oil, right? So when you have all of these add up, you're going to see significant amounts of inflation, and the only way to counter that right now is tax cuts or interest rates, right? And tax cuts people don't like. So what
No,
would
you
do?
increase
Interest
taxes. You
rates.
don't do tax cuts.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. Increase taxes or you increase the interest rates, right? But people are not gonna like raises in taxes. So the substitution for that would be interest rates, which the Fed can regulate. But with Janet Yellen saying that there's not going to be higher interest rates is way too optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is, this problem started with what happened last year when you gave all these, care packages, trillions of dollars. Most of the money went to corporations, and the first care package that under Trump they passed, Bernie came out and said that he regretted supporting it because I think like 60 or 70% of the money went to corporations. So when you have bills like that are complete failures, and you're trying to, do more packages that are going to be more public oriented, that's just, you made a mistake with, what you did earlier, and you're trying to fix that with more money. I don't know where this is going to end. I mean, when Obama had the 2009 package, it was like $800 billion. And that at the time was insane. Now, 10 years later, you're gonna do $5-6 trillion in the economy in just 1 year. I mean, that's like what 1/3 of your GDP. And how are you gonna combat this? This is just a price that we are gonna pay. I mean, this is our generation's gonna pay. We think that so much money, we're gonna get free medical insurance, we're gonna get free college, but when we're gonna pay 50% more taxes, like what New York's trying to do, what California's trying to do. I mean, if I don't know if you looked at the news, but New York's taxes are going to be 55%. So when most of your money is going to the government, what type of country are you living in? With 50% of your money.
And the thing is, they're doing shit with that money. They're not doing anything with it.
Right. We're just gonna become the UK at that point. Like if you take a look at UK, everything is nationalized, and you have ridiculously high tax rates, and the entire infrastructure is at a much more dull, suppressed level
But at least
than what it could be.
From what I know about the UK, at least they're managing the funds well. In the US, I mean, for years and years and years, we've seen how mismanaged the money. I mean, look at California, for God's sake. So many people are leaving because their tax money is not used properly.
Right.
It's wasted.
Right.
And I think Jamie Dimon said something about that as well, right?
He said an
Like
economic
spending
boom is
plans
coming.
has to be No, but spending plans have to be designed well. That's what he's mentioned. Otherwise, the government would waste all that money.
That is true.
Yeah, I mean, we were giving billions of dollars to other countries. If you look at I think it was the last package that Trump passed, we were giving, $10 billion to Egypt. We were giving $5 billion to some other country in the Middle East. Like, we don't have to do all of that. If you're going to if you're going to pass a national spending budget, why are you going to give money to international countries? It doesn't make any sense. So, you gotta, even like the last package, right? The last stimulus that Biden passed, if you just take that value that he passed and just stimulus checks to everyone, it would have been about $5,000. But people ended up getting what was it, like 1,200? So where is the rest of
1,400?
Right. So where's the rest of the money going? I mean, it's going to state. It's given out to states, and they are poorly mismanaging it, like California, like New York, and like a lot of other states out there. And the proof is in the pudding, right? Why are companies leaving California? Why are they going to Texas? Why are companies leaving New York? It's just the government is not handling the money that they're given, and it's just where's this going to end?
And also, Joel, I wanted to talk a little bit about the dollar, right? And you say that the dollar is like everyone depends on the dollar, but if you really take a look at the effects of dilution of the dollar, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening right now is the dollar is getting diluted. The issue with that is America's primary like income when it comes to exports is defense, and secondary is oil, correct? So
Yeah.
now when you have so much money coming in just from defense deals and oil, you need a strong dollar, right? If your dollar is diluted, your overall revenue that you get from exporting defense contracts, arms, and oil is going to significantly reduce. And we're already in a good amount of debt. And if you want to minimize the amount of external debt we have to the rest of the world, you need to maintain a strong dollar. With the dilution of the dollar, you're just putting on more debt because you're making more money, making less money of what your main business is.
At this point, you can't. There's no possible outcome where the USA will pay off its debt. The debt has kind of become the backbone of why the dollar exists. You can't. I don't think the U.S. is going to pay off the debt anytime.
No, I'm not saying they should pay off the debt. I'm saying the U.S. should always strive to minimize their external debt. Like right now, I think 23% of U.S.'s overall debt is external. But with the dilution of the dollar, that debt is going to increase because you're making a lot less money from your defense and oil deals.
Sharon, you want to answer that? I'm trying
to. I mean, I guess in a way, I can see that happening. But at the other hand, then the question comes, when is too much debt, going to happen to the U.S.? When are we going to have so much debt that we may have to call in some favors or potentially even bankruptcy? Because I don't ever see that happening.
I don't think bankruptcy is ever an issue because at the end of it, we can just manipulate the world through military use. That's what we did in Iraq. That's what we did in Afghanistan, right? Boom, debt call. Oh, let's start a war, right? But the thing is, we have China, right? China is using dilution tactics because they don't have a predominant currency. So their currency is practically useless. So what they do is they print a lot of money, dilute their currency so they can be the manufacturing leader of the world. No one can beat China's export costs because they just continue to dilute the what's China's currency called? The yen?
Yuan.
Yuan, yeah, the yuan. Right? So they're just diluting that so they can get super cheap imports. And that doesn't really affect their economy so much because they control it on like a massive scale. Whereas the US, that's not the case, right?
I mean, that's the same thing with the Fed. No, I feel like that's what the Fed is trying to do is they're trying to, in a way, dilute the economy so they can increase interest rates so they have more control over the money supply. Because take, for instance, interest rates are, okay, they're still at zero, actually. So take, for instance, the economy
0.25.
crashes again.
No, what I'm saying
0.25 is basically zero.
Yeah.
But take, for instance, the economy crashes again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, last time what they did was increase the money supply and decrease interest rates. Now, interest rates provided more support than actually increasing the money supply.
Mm-hmm.
And now their thing is that they have no control over fixing the economy. So they want to dilute it to a point where they can increase interest rates to like 3-4%. So that they can have more control over the economy. I think.
Well, what I'm saying is they
they
should increase it right now. Like now is the time to increase it. Because if you think
No,
about
I think that's what they're
That's
doing.
not going to happen.
'Cause
I mean,
most of-
Jerome Powell already said, interest rates are not going to increase till 2005.
Oh, you mean increase interest rates?
Yeah. I'm saying.
Oh no,
increase
they're not
interest
going to
rates
do that now.
because
no.
we're going to see a pretty bad case of inflation and its effects if we don't see an interest rate hike right now.
I honestly don't think they're caring about that right now.
So you're saying just
I
let the
don't
U.S. economy kind of like, just like dilute itself?
for a
Even
while.
if it
Yeah, I
dilutes
think that's what their
itself, it's
plan
not like the
is.
dollar's gonna get weaker.
I mean, it is getting weaker if you look at it. Like, if you compare
Not
it.
really.
No,
I think
the
it's
dollar.
rebounded from its lows.
Yeah, I mean, look, the
Like
do-
compared to the euro and all, it's done pretty well in the past couple months. Might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it has.
the dollar is pretty much the gold standard of the world, right? We can do whatever we want with it. There's not going to be any case of inflation like we had in the 1980s. Inflation is not going to exist anymore. That we've just passed that point. I don't think the Fed is going to care about, you know, 6-7% inflation. That's just not going to happen anymore. I think we've just passed that. Just based on what I'm hearing from other people as well, I think the dollar is just too strong, and other currencies are just too dependent on it, that the U.S. can do whatever they want, and the only solution that they have now is is just taper off their spending, and I mean, it's not just the Fed. It's most of the spending is actual fiscal spending, and the government has to stop, right? I think what Biden has another $1 trillion plan with student loans or something. That's just I mean, we just have to wait and see what happens, to be honest.
I mean, I understand what he's trying to do. I think it's a bit too early for it before we can actually figure out where. Because after every crisis, we kind of understand where the world is going. In terms
He's
of
just doing too much at
what
one
next
time.
direction.
He's doing too much at one time.
Yeah.
I
Without
really think
realizing
student
where we're
loans
going.
should be left alone. Like, that's a topic that's not a priority right now.
I mean,
or ever should be.
I would disagree to a certain extent, because you got like loan shark guys like Navient that are preying on minority students.
Yeah.
Those practices need to be regulated, right?
I get that, but
I
I'm
think
saying
that,
that's not on
and
a
also-
that's usually not on a massive scale, right?
No,
if
it
you take
is.
a look at student loans,
Isn't there like 2.8 trillion in debt? Actually, close to 3 trillion, if I remember.
no, there's a lot of
reading the
debt, right?
last
But then
numbers.
that also shows that a lot more people are getting educated. Student loan is always like the student loan quantity is always not a bad sign, because if you're seeing a hike in debt, you're also seeing a hike in educated individuals in the economy. That means more white collar workforce. So that also means more people are likely to pay off that debt now.
Not really. Especially the millennials, they haven't really had the best of times, have they?
That's true.
The purchasing power it's not really been there for them. They've kind of been left in the dust. I don't know. I don't think student loans should be the main issue. I mean, yeah, screw those student loan companies.
Yeah.
I think just college costs in general need to be looked at very closely.
Right. So
Especially,
how?
I mean, look at Stanford. Think about this. Stanford got $30 billion in endowments last year.
Yeah.
And yet they cut 11 of their Division 1 teams, like including wrestling. You all heard about the wrestling story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's insane that you receive 30 billion in endowments, and yet you still have a way to cut all those teams and keep the money to yourself.
That's because
Like, there has to
Stanford,
be
what they're trying to do is, not just Stanford, most colleges, their plan with their endowment is they use it on infrastructure development, not internal
Yeah, but
struggles.
there has to be.
Look, this is
limit
it comes
to
down
it.
to this, right? Bachelor degree costs have been skyrocketing, right? How do you combat that? You increase the value of getting an associate's degree, so you make that free and more accessible to a lot of students. Because right now, if you look at a lot of jobs out there, you can get a good job just based off an associate's degree. And if you're going to make that free, guys who come out of high school, they go straight to an associate's degree, they get, this certificate, and they go to the workforce. And if you
I guess it's kind of like a paradox, right? Student loans are kind of like insurance. If
you
think
decrease the
about it,
demand for
the
bachelor's
reason why
degrees. That's how you combat it.
it's a paradox because the reason why college prices are increasing is because of the accessibility of student loans. Because more people can afford college with student loans, that's why there's more demand for college and it's hiking up the price, right? That's what's happening with healthcare. Insurance is mandatory for everyone, and insurance companies are usually overcharged for what the services in the health sector actually deserve, so it kind of hikes up the entire price of healthcare, right? It's the same exact thing. How do you like get rid of that, it would kind of be like it needs some sort of regulation on student loans. But the other side to that is if you regulate student loans, more people can't go to college. So how do you really fix it? No one knows.
Yeah, it's just an endless circle at this point.
Yeah. Like that's why no matter how much we talk about student loans or healthcare, it will never change in America, and prices will continue to skyrocket just because of the amount of free market play that's happening.
Look,
It's a cycle. It's an endless cycle.
I think this comes down also to employers. So a lot of employers out there, they go to these target schools and they pretty much pick students from there, right? Nowadays,
Yeah.
we're in the 21st century. We have the internet. You can learn what, if you go to like, let's say George Mason's CS curriculum, you can pretty much learn all that online. You can go to Udemy. You can go to YouTube, and YouTube has so much information. You can become a pro at any language, and you don't have to spend 1 cent. So you need to find a way where employers hire people not just based on degrees. So you bring down the demand of a degree down, and that's how you combat high prices. People want to go to a bachelor's degree because they're brought up that way. When you go to your high school counselor, that's what they say, right? You go to college. But we live in a world where you don't have to, and you can just go online, learn everything, and you can be suitable to go to the workforce. So
I mean, we're not there yet. It's shifting to that stage, right? Which I like, but it's not there yet. Still, in the current economy, the bachelor's degree is kind of like a medal you need to wear to your interview to get that job, right? It's a basic qualification to get a white collar job. But in the future, maybe, since slowly, because of all the resources that are coming out, things are tapering off, and the demand for bachelor's degrees are going down, maybe in the next 10, 15, or maybe even 20 years, we'll see complete like lack of demand for bachelor's degrees, right? And these insane prices. But for the next like 5, 10 years, that's not really going to change, because the workforce still needs that medal. The degree needs to be there.
yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at all the CS jobs out there, I mean, so many people have made memes over the fact
Yeah,
that
yeah. I'll be honest. I'm a CS
they
major,
want
right?
bachelor.
I'm a CS major.
They want
and
bachelor's degree. They want like 5 years experience in like
Yeah.
several coding platforms.
True. For example,
they
like
want-
like I'll give you a first-hand experience. So I recently took this class called computer organization, which basically teaches me like systems programming, right? But most people who are majoring in CS with me will probably end up at some software engineering job in like a normal startup company, or maybe some regular company, right? But if you think about it, the amount of skills you need for that, I could just take a data structures course on Udemy for $12, become a master at that subject, ace that technical interview, get that job for $12. And what would my starting pay be? Around 101K. Now I'm paying 26K a year for my bachelor's degree, averaging around to like 90K by the time I graduate, and all this 90% of the skills I learn as a CS major are absolutely useless to what I do in the workforce. Not once will I use those skills, because they're so ancient and outdated that you would never use them in the modern day.
And also, I mean, you need to limit some majors that are being offered. Of course, if you want to be a doctor, you got to go to college. If you want to go be a scientist, you want to learn biology, physics, computer science, I guess you got to have some education. But for other classes, arts, a few other, blue collar jobs like plumbing, you don't have to offer a major for this, right? And
for example, like agriculture,
Yeah,
English,
right.
these kind of majors need to be pushed out to different types of schools, which are significantly cheaper or even free.
Right.
Because you can't justify paying 30K or even 50K a year at an Ivy League school to become an English major and end up at a 40K job in Fairfax County Public Schools. That makes zero sense.
Right. So there's just a wide variety of education options out there, and there's a lot of students out there who want to, go achieve their dream, and they pay, they take loans and get useless degrees out there, and that's the problem, right? So you need to, kind of decrease the demand for that. Maybe, eliminate some of those majors in colleges, or make employers select students from community colleges or colleges that offer certificates for these types of studies, and that's how you decrease the demand. That's how you decrease bachelor degree costs.
I want to see a rise in
Yeah.
demand for schools like trade schools. I want to see a rise in demand for community colleges. That's what I'm aspiring for in the future, because that's where you can learn a lot of information that's useful for the workforce at half or even a third of the cost of a public or private university.
Right.
And I think most universities, just in general, just need to die out in order for that to happen. And it should be more strict, like only, a certain amount or a certain qualification of individuals can get into those, universities.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of separate it out. I guess somewhat how Sweden has done.
Yeah, I mean,
But I don't
I
know.
think also you gotta
Oh.
so every college has a standard, right? Per credit hour, you pay a certain amount of money, right? For
Yeah.
like a math class, you'll that's a 3 credit class. You'll pay the same as a 3 credit English class. Do they offer the same utility when you go to workforce, right? So you gotta decrease the cost in some majors that won't push you to a career path where you be making a lot of money, right? So I think that's the problem, right? People take student loans for degrees that are not going to pay you well, and then you end up defaulting on the loans, and you end up not being able to pay, and your interest rate goes up, and it all accumulates, and that's why you have this behemoth of a debt crisis where $3 trillion of student loans in this country.
Yeah, you need an evaluation, major-based evaluation.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
if you're
yeah.
an English major, you pay like 10K. If you're an engineering major, you pay like 30K. You can justify that.
Right.
If English majors and engineering majors are paying the same amount, no way. No way.
Right.
That's not going to pay off.
Yeah.
It'll be tough. It'll be tough to get these reformed. I am hoping Biden does something about this. I just think it's a bit early for him to be focusing on this specific issue right now. But then again, I think just one last note. The government itself has not helped out students in the way it should have, especially in the past year. With the stimulus bills, you would think they would have focused on the generation of students who are most affected by it, whether they lost their jobs or whether they just need the money to pay off rent or help out their parents. But the fact that the government didn't help them out and helped out corporations.
Students were exempt from the stimmies. So, like, a lot of students
Yeah.
didn't even get it because they didn't qualify
Exactly,
for it.
that's what I'm saying. Sure, we didn't get it, but we didn't need it. But there are students out there who needed it.
Mhm.
They might have lost their part-time jobs that they need to pay off college, or who whatever is there. And the fact that the government didn't help them in the stimmy bill just
Yeah, I mean, look,
that's
I
rough.
had first-hand experience going to community college where, there's students who are trying to take, their Canvas exams or quizzes on their phone because they can't afford a laptop, and they can't go to the campus because the campus is closed due to COVID, right? And the government's out here giving, trillions of dollars and billions of dollars to big corporations. I mean, with what, $10 billion, you can pretty much eliminate most of the problems. So they are not doing a good job in terms of focusing their priorities where it has to be, and that can be attributed to I don't want to say corruption, but if you look at the lobbying spending and seeing what these corporations and how much they're giving to politicians, that's just a big problem, right?
Yeah, goddamn American Airlines, fam. How do you, after all the stimulus that you've been given, you still want to go aggressive and push forward for, push all your funds towards the hope that the economy would recover in the fall? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's just
It's a rough world out there. But yeah, on that, I think, sad note, I think we'll leave it off for there.
I
And
think-
yeah, we
I-
will.
I think we can expect, once we enter the workforce, huge decreases in purchasing power per person, right? Things are going to be a lot more expensive for us than it was for the previous generation, and it's just going to happen. Just mark my words. I think
Alrighty
I think
then.
I've stated a lot of evidence in their
Yeah.
previous podcasts and this one to substantiate my claim as to why purchasing power will decrease for our generation. We just need to watch it happen.
All right. Well, I think on that note, we will end it off for now. We will be back shortly with our policy update. Try and get things rolling again here in the Greenback Voyage. But thank you for listening. Subscribe if you're on YouTube, or follow us if you are on Spotify for any latest episodes. And we will see you guys next time.